Welcome back. We're talking with the renowned American Indian activist and actor Russell Means. Now, you've had an incredibly colorful life. I know your activism started early on with you. Now, tell me about that, those defining moments, the ones that really stuck in your mind from some of the things you've done in your life.
Well, I think the first is meeting the American Indian movement, in which I was opposed to them. The point being, though, is I watched them. I watched them confront and challenge the churches, and the churches accepted. It was a beautiful confrontation. We took over the podium of the convention. You know, there were thousands of delegates of Christians there. Anyway, when I went back to Cleveland, Ohio, I was an accountant, working as an accountant. I wrote out my resignation, and I became a member of the American Indian movement right then. And from there on, it was all downhill.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about some of the things you did, but let me while I remember, touch on that iconic painting. Not many people can say they had Andy Warhol paint them. 1976, there you were, portrayed by Andy Warhol. Well, how did that come about?
He had his people call me and ask if I would consent to being photographed by Andy, because he wanted to do a portrait about the American Indians. And I said, well, why me? I mean, there's plenty of Indians around here. Well, they said they had did an improbable survey, and the name that most popped up was mine, about who to photograph. So he contacted me. So he flew me to New York City, took over 100 photographs of me, and came up with 18 portraits.
And of course, it's sort of set in stone as a very artistic and well-known piece now.
One of the most satisfying moments of my life was when Time magazine did a cover story on Arnold Schwarzenegger and had a picture of him, full-page picture of him, sitting with his desk, and one of my Andy Warhol portraits was behind him. Huge, huge. And it's the title of the caption on the photograph was "The Man Behind Arnold Schwarzenegger." What a sleight of hand comment.
Now, soon after you joined the American Indian movement in 1969, you actually were involved in the takeover of Alcatraz Island for about 19 months. And then I think in 1970, Mount Rushmore as well. Tell me how this idea to go in there with this physical presence, I mean, it was fairly daring stuff you were doing.
Actually, my father and I helped in a takeover in 1964, 5 years before the young people followed in our footsteps. Well, I was younger myself. But that was the first time, in 1964, we took over Alcatraz. Wounded Knee, 1973, the armed struggle with the United States of America, we won that again. You know, that was according to American history, that was the last battle between, wasn't a battle, it was a massacre. They disarmed us and massacred over 300 of us at Wounded Knee in 1890, but they called it the last battle between Indians and whites. Well, in 73, we took them on again in the same place. And Wounded Knee is a fishbowl, hills surrounding the village. We were down in there, and they were pouring in fire from all over for 71 days. But they answered all our demands, allegedly. But typical United States government, they lied through their teeth. And just like our ancestors, I'm very proud of this, we believed them. Once again, we believed in the oral tradition, you know? And they asked us this. We had 10 demands. They said, look, the public has been watching this. We can't appear to have acquiesced to all your demands like a gun to our heads. So if you could just pare them down. So we just took off the numbers and consolidated some paragraphs and renumbered it 1 through 6. Same demands, but 1 through 6. So that's what they agreed to.
Now, you also took part in the longest walk. I think it was 1978, yeah. To go against what you saw as anti-American Indian legislation, and you actually got a U.S. House of Representatives resolution passed, sort of affirming the rights. In reality, how much has changed since that time?
It's gotten worse. Colonization never gets better; it gets worse. And genocide is about to happen to my people. And I don't want my people becoming brown Americans, lost like the slave. You know, there's a black woman back east in the eastern part of the United States who said it a few years ago, and I beg her forgiveness for forgetting her name. But she said, you know what the white man did to us, slaves, was take the taste out of our mouth. Well, the taste in our mouth, which makes us matriarchal, which makes us Lakota, children of the earth, within the earth, it's about to disappear. And I can't let that happen. You know? And the people around me don't want it to happen. And now that I'm 69 winters old, and now that I'm at that age and about to embark in my 70s, we've got to save ourselves, because the United States of America has demonstrated, as I mentioned earlier, 155 years. So this is what colonization, it devastates you. It devastates every bit of you. And the sad part is they've taken our policies, bred and birthed them on an Indian reservation, exported those policies to the world, like I mentioned, and now onto the backs of Americans. And they don't even know it, that the United States of America is the biggest Indian reservation in the world. Their rights have been stripped from them daily. And then they have these charades like Democratic and Republican conventions.
How do you handle the skeptics and those who criticize you for your activism?
Gandhi. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win.
Let me ask you about the acting career, because that also put you very much on the map. You actually were in the movie with Daniel Day-Lewis in 1992, The Last of the Mohicans, which I gather you say is the truest representation of American Indian life that you've seen. Is that right, on the big screen?
Well, I can name about 5 movies in the different decades leading up to year 2000. It's about 5 movies, all Hollywood. Hollywood is the second most racist, anti-Indian institution in America, the United States government being number 1. Hollywood has always been so racist, up to and including tomorrow. So the struggle there is, I know I can't change the production values because I would never get a job if that happened. That means costly. Only the big stars can do that, okay? But you got to get the roles, number 1, and then you can change dialogue. And that's what I do, to change the image, to make us more human, to have character development, you know? And even in trying to do it in real bad movies that refuse to change the dialogue, like The Missing or Into the West. Anytime they do a racist, stereotypical movie on Indians, they get Academy Awards and Emmys. You get awards for being racist in Hollywood, at least anti-Indian.
Now, do you actually enjoy the acting side, though? Because you've done quite a bit. There was Natural Born Killers, Oliver Stone's film.
I love the arts. Yeah. I love the arts. Acting opened the door to the art world for me. So I'm a painter now. I've shown in Italy, France, all over the United States. And I write. I've done music. I've done 2 CDs. And I produce and direct and write screenplays.
Now, I know we talked earlier about the role model you had as a child, your grandfather. Who else has been a mentor to you or an inspirational role model?
There isn't one person. There's my grandmother, the grandmothers of a little private poll I took in 1980, and there's my wife, Pearl. She's definitely a role model for me. Men never get beyond 12 years of age. And the women know, the sensible women know that. The matriarchal women know that. And that's why we can champion each other's differences in a matriarchal society rather than claw at one another, you know?
Are you able to find time for, all those diverse interests you have, are you able to find time for all that stuff? Enough time for it?
No, sometimes my wife wishes there were more of me, and especially pay attention to her. And my children wish that. I wish it. It's difficult keeping up, but being free is the most important thing in my life, and all the others are just enjoyments of that freedom.
Have you managed to achieve pretty much everything you want to, or is there something really outstanding that you'd like to get done still?
I want to see the recognition, the re-recognition of my nation. I want to live that long, and I want to live longer than my wife, because I don't want her marrying anybody else.
That's a good endorsement. And if it comes down to being remembered a certain way, Russell, what would you like people to remember you as? What would you like your legacy to be?
My legacy is always remember you are the ancestors of those yet unborn.
Russell, I wish you a lot of power to your movement and good luck with everything. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.